Hi, welcome to this new series, The Classics, where every single week we will be taking a look at one of the classic pieces of Indian cinema. And today is very special because the movie that we will be talking about, Bigha Zamin, released in 1954, directed by Bimal Roy, is a very special movie because it practically started the Italian neo-realist cinema culture into India and was also the Filmfare Award winner for Best Picture back when the Filmfare Awards were inaugurated in 1954, also the time when the awards actually meant something. Now the movie is quite simple in its plotting. Basically, it is a story about a farmer who owns two bigha zamins of land that a zamindar wants to annex. The reason for annexation is made quite clear in the first few minutes that if the zamindar is able to grab that land, then he would be able to build a huge mill there. And what follows is the journey of the farmer, his son and his wife and his father, and how it all converges together to create a very well profound picture. Now the reason why I like this movie was of a very simple thing. It is, well, as it comes from Italian neo-realist cinema, this film is very realistic in nature. Not realistic in the fact that it does not have any songs, it does not have very thematic acting, it does not have very avant-garde cinematography. No, not really that, but it's just that it understands the subject matter and presents them in a way that feels very natural and that feels real. And it is both surprising and sad at the same time. Surprising because you really get to see the kind of cinema that was being made in 1954 way back when. But also sad because when you look at the story and you look at the film, you can really see that not much has changed in terms of the landscape, in terms of the struggles, in terms of even the themes explored in this film. The nightmarish things that happen to the farmer in this movie are pretty much the same that happen in 2026 India. So that parallel is something that does hurt you, but it also makes the film so much more understanding and has so much more gravitas compared to some modern blockbusters or even modern realistic films. The first thing that I really liked was the fact that the direction feels very natural but not schlocky. What I mean by that is plenty of times you will see a direction that is being done for the realistic manner, but it will seem amateurish. That is not the case here. Bimal Roy's direction is so crisp in nature, the shot composition is so good that the only example that I feel need to give is that there is a scene in this movie where all the farmers are gathered together, and as the rain arrives, they start to form a dance. Now that dance could have been shot in a normal lens manner where the lens is here, the dancer is performing in front of them. Would be very simple to do. But what Bimal Roy does is that basically dancers are dancing over here, the camera is over here, but there is an empty tree whose branches are being shown, so as to describe that what the dancers are dancing about and the relative nature of it all. And it is so beautiful to look at, and you really do understand the visual poetry that is being shown through the screen, and that is why I feel the direction could be simply described as sublime. Because it does not have actually any flashy long takes, it does not have quick editing, it is just simple in nature but beautiful. And that is where the heart of the film lies. It is simple yet beautiful. And that leads me to the second thing, that is the writing. Now, when you understand the plot of the movie, you would expect some similar beats to happen in a very Bollywood film, but that is genuinely not the case. Now, I'll give you a bit of a trivia for this film, that actually the movie, when it was released in 1954, had a much darker ending. But for the first 3 days, the hype and the response of the audience was not that great. So one distributor called Bimal Roy and was like, hey, this really is not working. Audiences should feel sad, yeah, but they should not go such dejected way out of the theatre. So Bimal Roy shot a new ending, which was then considered much successful. Of course, it did not garner that much numbers, but hey, on a budget of 10 lakhs, this movie grossed around 70 lakhs. So at that time, it was considered a good, mediocre success. Now, I personally feel that the original ending was a worse option and the new ending feels much better because it truly understands what is it that makes a person move forward in life. That being hope. And it truly understands that no matter what happens with a person in their life, the only reason that they can move forward in life, they can move forward to a new sunrise, they can move forward to a new awakening is only when they have the support of their loved ones, and they can go to sleep thinking that, hey, I have hope that tomorrow will be a nice day. When that hope extinguishes, that person will extinguishes as well. So this movie really understands that, and I genuinely applaud Bimal Roy for even attempting to change the ending and not be like a strickler of a director to say, no, this is my movie, I will play with it however I please. So that just shows the graciousness, the calmness, the understanding, the intelligence of Bimal Roy as a director and all the technicals involved as well. And in the writing as well, there are many such instances where there are plenty of throwaway lines that would seem very normal in nature, but once the film finishes, you really understand that they showcase such a natural way of how humans converse with each other. There's not much exposition here, it's just characters delivering their dialogue in a natural way where you feel that, yeah, I mean, this is how a person would talk, this is how a person would deal with problems, this is how a person would enact some kind of a scenario. So that is where the writing truly shines. So third is the acting, and this feels very natural in nature because when you look at, say, actors like Nirupa Roy, so she came from a poor background. So Bimal Roy casted her because he thought fit that she would be able to portray the angst of it all very clearly. And the farmer played by Balraj Sani is so effective in this role because there's a scene in the movie where he has to pull up a rickshaw. So I thought while watching the film is that there must be some kind of a assistant director or some of the crew that was sitting in that rickshaw so that he could pull it off easily. But in camera it would seem that it was a very grueling part of his ritual. But no, Bimal Roy made sure that Balraj Sani actually pulled that rickshaw in a blistering Kolkata heat barefoot with actual passengers, and the passengers could put out any place that they wanted to go, and Balraj had to move that rickshaw, move that legs, move in such a pace that would put blisters on his feet, and that was captured in a raw manner. But that kind of guerrilla filmmaking does not make the direction any less impressive because you would never in a million years think that this was shot in some guerrilla manner because everything feels so clean, pristine, and such professional in nature that I really marvel at how the actors were able to put forth such brilliant performances and how the directors was able to capture them as well. And finally, it's the crew members because there are so many well-known faces that you see in this movie like Sahib Ludhianvi, like Rishikesh Mukherjee, Bimal Da, and just so many more well-known names that you really start to think that wow, this was how Bollywood used to be an industry back then, how people backed each other, how work was transported, how people came in together to create a project that they were passionate about. It was truly inspiring to see such names come up in this movie that truly deserves its first Filmfare Award as a Best Picture. It is truly an inspiring piece of cinema that I feel that every person who has an interest in understanding what Indian cinema is like should absolutely watch it. And then you should also check this book out, that is 10 Classes by Anita Pathye, where basically she follows the journey of 10 movies, shares the behind the scenes story, some tidbits, some trivia, and it is a genuinely fun read. So as of now, I'll be following these movies. The first being Bigha Zamin that we covered today. Then it's Pyasa, Do Aankhein Bara Haath, Mother India, Guide, Teesri Kasam, Mughal Azam, Anand, Pakiza, and Umrao Chan. And afterwards, we'll continue our journey forward with many such classics. So yeah, next week it is Pyasa. So yeah, those were my thoughts on Do Bigha Zamin. I really liked it. Next week we will be talking about the Gurudutt Pyasa, which is not my favorite film on this, just a spoiler. So yeah, watch Do Bigha Zamin, watch Pyasa, share your thoughts on these movies down below, and I'll see you next week.